Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 8 of Learning Outside the Lines with Kyle and Glenn, or Glenn and Kyle. Again, it doesn't matter. We are happy to have you along. Today's episode, we're going to include Mr. Nic Carroll, who is the Director of Digital Learning at Columbia County School District near Augusta. So we'll get a chance to learn what his role is currently, and certainly no bigger time for his office to be on display than right now.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to get his insight in the work that they've been doing since all of this has started. Glenn, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Just to kind of roll right into my anecdote, I'd like to introduce my coffee mug. This is one of my favorite artifacts. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Yeah. But just like me, it has lots of coffee inside, and yeah.
That's I've known that mug for a time now, and it never ceases to amuse me every time you decide to lift it to your face.
You know, it's funny. I actually can't separate the reactions, like the memories of the reactions of my students from this mug. So it's a little bittersweet right now because I can just remember every bit of shade or joke or laugh or the time. I think someone actually spit their own coffee out when they noticed it. It's just, yeah, it's a little piece of the classroom.
Yep, it's half of you on a mug. So my anecdote is some of the neighborhood stuff we've got going on. So I told you all recently that the local elementary school came through as a parade, and all the teachers that were waving and honking their horns and showing signs to the kids in the neighborhood, which was a delight. One of the things that the neighborhood has gotten together to do on the Facebook page was to do a bear hunt. And a bear hunt, all this means is we're taking stuffed animals, putting them in the windows of a bunch of different houses. And so when families walk around with their kids, they get to kind of spy which stuffed animals are in the windows and count how many there are. And that's the bear hunt. So just kind of
that's cool.
To still do community, even though we have to keep our distance.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love that idea. Is there any like tracking involved with the bears? Like, is it like a scavenger hunt where they're trying to find particular bears, or just an old school see what you see kind of thing?
Pretty old school see what you see. I think if somebody had thought more organizationally about it, we could have gone down that rabbit hole. We just chose not to. This was definitely not my idea. We're just
yeah. Just it's interesting. I was browsing technology last night actually for digital teaching hack ideas, and I came across a app called Goose Chase, which allows you to create digitally a scavenger hunt for people to do in the real world. So that might be something that we look at a future episode.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, maybe without further ado, let's get into today's digital teaching hack. What are we going to do today?
So one of the things that we talked about in last episode was the danger of having too many digital platforms for students too fast. I don't want to kind of go too broad. So I thought maybe we'd take a little bit of a pause and go deep on one of the topics that we've talked about. So a couple episodes ago, I brought up Booksnaps, and we just did a real quick flyby on them. So I'd like to actually go a little bit deeper into Booksnaps, just as a tool for teachers and students, of course, right now, but maybe so that way we don't get too broad. But talking about Booksnaps, I do want to give a lot of credit to Tara Martin, who has written, presented, publicized, just really done a lot of work on getting Booksnaps out there into the edu consciousness, if you will. So she deserves tons of credit for kind of her work on creating this whole concept and everything she's done with it. So you can check her out on taramartin.com, and she's got a lot of really great resources there. But Booksnaps, it's just a way of talking back to a text. And when I talk about text, I mean everything from images, graphs, charts, maps, math problems, comic books, paragraphs, sentences, poems. And you basically just take a picture of that text and then annotate it. So you can add everything to it from GIFs to links, your own thinking, emojis, bitmojis, but you just digitally annotate that picture. And there's a lot of different apps that you can use to do a Booksnap. Doesn't have to just be Snapchat. So for younger students, they might have Seesaw. Google Slides is fantastic. There's a lot of resources out there about how to do a book snap with Google Slides. Even just the camera app on your phone and an image editor can produce some really cool book snaps. So there's a lot of different platforms that it works on also. So just talking about some of the things you can do with book snaps, they work great with independent reading. And as teachers in the language arts classrooms, we're always trying to find a way to get student reading, but also have it be standards-based and collaborative and engaging. Right? The last thing we want to do is say, here, read whatever you want, and now do something really boring with it. So this is a way to kind of meet students where they are. These are just some examples for some language arts, but I also wanted to make sure to show you guys some different content area book snaps as well. So science, social studies. Check out this really cool George Washington's farewell address book snap. And again, you could also see a little bit of cross-curricular work with the, famous text there. This is a wonderful science book snap, all about vibrations. And I just love the creativity of this student, bringing in unicorns, of course, waves, yeah. So some cool Bitmoji work there. And then this one was just unbelievable to me from language arts again, the Fahrenheit 451. I like how they identified the literary device being used, but they also annotated with some tone words like euphoric. Oh my goodness! If one of my students ever put euphoric as a tone, I would be feeling the euphoricness too. But also math, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many years I've been trying to find an activity that works both in the language arts classroom and the math classroom. Like, check out the way that these students annotated these math problems using book snaps. This really awesome Bitmoji here. What's your point? And it's like actually the point. Like, it's the point in the math problem. So sorry, dad joke there. But that's kind of book snaps in a snap. I just wanted to give you a little bit more context and detail with that tool.
Yeah, the connecting it to math, I think, was really important. We talked before when we first introduced it about how it could fit in other subjects, but it's great that we're able to show, like, no, I mean, really, you can do this, and this is how you can engage your students in a meaningful way with using really strategies and things that they're using just to engage with one another. Pretty naturally. Some might argue that might start killing, the enjoyment of doing that in real life versus that, but I don't know how true that would be.
But yeah. I mean, then the next probably 3 tools have already come out, or not tools. They don't call them tools, do they, Kyle? They call it just fun. But yeah. So, yeah. Oh well.
It is. So maybe as long as we don't mimic TikTok. All right. So anyway, let's not even talk about that right now. Well, so let's go ahead and get into our second half segment, which is What's the Good Word? This is where we reserve time to interview anyone who's willing to come on with us. And as I previewed for you earlier, a good friend of mine, actually, who I worked with for many, many years in a project-based learning classroom, cross-curricular. He was social studies, I was language arts. We got very much into the space of what does it look like to allow students to explore standards in their own authentic way, and then how do they problem solve through that. It was lots of ups and downs, but I wouldn't change it. It changed my whole teaching life, and I know it did his as well. So I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Nic Carroll. So again, he's the Director of Digital Learning for Columbia County Public Schools. And so he's going to share with us kind of what their experiences are as he's supporting from a director level. All right, so let's bring you on, Nic.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good, doing well, sir. Thanks for being on.
No problem. My pleasure.
So how long have you been the director?
Almost 4 years. So moved out here 4 years ago from Gwinnett County, and been going strong ever since.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of context to Columbia County versus a place like Gwinnett. We talk a lot about Gwinnett. It's big. It serves a lot of students. There's lots of diversity here. It's just maybe a different beast than Columbia County. So what's it like where you are?
We definitely don't have as many people. So we have about 28,000 students, 3,500 employees, roughly 22 instructional employees. We have 32 schools. We have 5 high schools, 8 middle schools, 18 elementary schools. 11 of our schools, mainly elementary school, are Title I. We have a huge military population. So we're the headquarters for U.S. Cyber Command now. And so Fort Gordon serves our area and community. So a lot of our parents work either in the energy field at Plant Vogel or Savannah Riverside, and then obviously the military side of stuff. So we have just this weird mix. We're this urban area in the middle of nowhere. So you have these large cities in between us, between Charlotte's 2 hours away, Atlanta's 2 hours away, but it's just kind of us out here in the Masters. So we got the Masters. That's
you don't even get the Masters right now, man.
Nope. October is what we're hearing. October.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I've heard, and this is a little off topic, but I've heard there's such a short window for when the grass is like usable, I guess, like at the level that the Masters it has to be, that like October, like there's just this small sliver of time after this where you get the same type of grass look and feel as you would right now.
That's right. And they close it, they close it for a period of time to people, and they got to let the grass grow. And yeah, so there's all this summer stuff they have to do, and they'll open it back up then. So
it's all right. Well, anyway, I digress. It's interesting
okay.
to me. So tell us, in the last 4 years you've taken on this director role, what kind of groundwork did you and your team, or those of you working on this at the district level, what did you kind of lay a foundation of before we got to this moment?
So when I first got here, they don't have instructional technology people like you do on Gwinnett. So they didn't have a local school technology coordinator. They didn't really have district people that were instructional tech. It was whatever teachers did in their building. It's like whatever a teacher found and could access, and the technology department would support them, but they're not from the instructional world. So there was no connection between the instructional world and the technology world. So that's why they brought me in, was to kind of help mesh that so we could concentrate and give a focus on digital learning, instructional tech in the building. As far as hardware and things like that, they're very similar to Gwinnett County, a mixed environment. You get laptops and desktops and just a little bit of here and there, and whatever schools can purchase certain things, and software they can purchase certain things, and it's just a real mix. And so in that sense, it was very similar, but instructionally, there was no major focus on how to integrate appropriately based on making instruction first, because that's still first. We still just need to be teachers and get good pedagogy down and all those things, and good instruction down, and then learn how to take tech and further it. So that's really why I was brought in and came in. I'll kind of go, I won't go year by year, but can we get some consistency about things that kids can get access to and teachers can get access to? And really, it was just about getting it connected and giving teachers access and students access to tools that they could use. Then what we did is we actually hired another person, the digital learning specialist. So basically just a district level, very focused instructional tech person that went into the schools and basically concentrates on integrating instruction with tech and teaching teachers through the professional learning environment. And so what we did is we sat down and just talked, what can we do? And how can we know that our teachers have some skill sets? Because a lot of teachers were doing good things. You might not see it and things like that, but was it focused? Was it really creating an active environment for students to learn in the right way? Were we using it the right way? And so we really wanted to look and say, well, do our teachers have some basic skills? And so we created something called the Level Up Challenge. We concentrated around Google, but really it morphed. It started with, we would like to get as many teachers Google certified as we can in our schools. And it started off with about 20. And what we did is we literally had these units that we built in Google Classroom, and teachers are building ultimately an electronic portfolio. showing how they use these tools, instructionally focused, and doing units. And then what we do is we pay for their test. So if they'll go get level 1 certified, we pay the $10. They take the test, obviously if they pass it. Then they take the test, and they can show at least basic proficiency with instructional tools. And the Google one is so focused on instruction, not just about using the tool, that we just thought it was a good place to start. So what we did is we wanted to drive that. So we really created this concept or this thing called EdTech Innovators. And basically we got signs. We started with badging. The level up thing was this whole gamification spin on professional learning, micro-credentialing, things like that. And where we started 2 years ago to where we are now, we have almost 500 level 1 Google certified educators. We have about, and this portfolio is real. Like, I mean, it's a step. We actually have a group of work-based learning students that work for us, and what they do is they're all Google certified. We got them certified as teachers in the thing, and they grade these teachers' assignments and things that they're doing in these Google Classroom, and they have 32 classrooms they're dealing with.
Yeah,
so,
that's cool.
So that's
yeah.
So that's what we did, and what it was able to do is really drive our teachers. Our teachers want that. They want that sign. They want that badge. They want that. They want to be recognized. The thing is we don't just deliver. We don't just send it in the mail to them. We actually deliver it and take a picture with them. And I can share that. You can share those. You can share the links in your blog, so you can share out. But basically, teachers completed this, and we wanted an instructional spin on it. And so everything is aligned to visible learning objectives. It's concentrated on instruction, and it's not just Google. So they might use something like Flipgrid or things like that and show skill sets like how to integrate Flipgrid into a slide deck, into your classroom appropriately, you know, because sometimes you can use too much, right? You can get that. They want to use all these tools, and then you get all these stations. I'm like, those kids have to learn all 6 of those tools. That's probably not the best idea. And so that's where we started. And so right now, we have almost 500 Google level 1. We have 15 Google trainers in our district, about 250 level 2. So we've just done this great, I can look at it and honestly say, we have a core group of teachers across our county that have shown not just proficiency, but can show that they know how to use instructional tools effectively with students in the blended learning environment.
So how are these folks being leveraged?
Considering the numbers that you have?
So we have about 1,700 just teachers, and then we allow paraprofessionals and stuff to it. So, you know, between paraprofessionals and some other instructional staff, you're right around 2,200 or so. So
that's incredible.
So to have 500
cool.
that have shown that, and then the thing, we have more trainers than the majority of the southeastern United States in just one county.
Yeah.
And so we use that core to teach and drive professional learning in our district. And
so how are they being leveraged right now, right? So I would imagine these 500 some folks are really helping support those other, what would that be, 1,200 or so folks?
So absolutely. So that was kind of our first mission. So on top of all the course, those group that showed those skill sets and got recognized for it, we do have an instructional specialist now, or instructional technology specialist in each high school. So that, like the LSTC in Gwinnett. So we have one in each high school, but we don't have them in middle school and elementary school. We have instructional coaches. So they kind of serve a dual role. Okay. And the other part of this I didn't really get to mention is we created a media collaborative, or a future ready collaborative, between the media specialists and the instructional coaches. And we get them together and make them basically professional learn together. We actually went through the Bold School book by Weston Kieschnick this year. And what we do is we try to create a connection between the two to support instruction in the building. And it's been a game changer. And so we did a book study with Weston. We've had Weston in fact, we spoke to Weston today with our group, and just concentrating on what does instructional technology look like between the media specialists and between the IS and how they coach their teachers and drive professional learning in their buildings. So between the EdTech innovator side and that, so what we've done to leverage them is we reached out to them. Principals, you have, and we have the numbers, you have 40 Google certified people in your building. Like, they need to lead your professional learning. They need to lead some of your staff developments. They need to share what they're doing. And so that's what we've done. So we started getting overwhelmed. We started getting all these pictures of all these different things and videos and screencasts of all the stuff that we're doing across the district. And where we would have been 4 years ago to where we are now, I just can't imagine how well or how prepared I feel compared to where I would have felt 4 years ago. So it's like, we really did. I think we have very prepared our students.
That you guys have kind of built this structure by empowering leaders and by empowering teachers to be leaders and to become trainers on these different platforms. And now that there is a crisis or a need, that this is something that it's the role that they can kind of slide into because they've been empowered.
Correct. That's absolutely so cool. And I think you worded it very well. I think that's exactly what we were trying to do. Our new phrase right now is crowdsourcing. We're crowdsourcing and leveraging the educators in our building that have shown these skill sets. And what we did is we really created a Google chat through our domain, and we have everyone in there, and we're just like, we don't have the answers all the time. Let someone else answer. Someone else got a training video. We're going to use it. We're going to let them be the specialists on it. And that's what we did. And so between having principals reach out and use the people in their building that they know have these skills, and the different crowdsourcing and all the collaboration that we did with the instructional coaches and the media specialists leading up to this point have just very well just prepared us.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, so there's a lot of times misconceptions about what folks at a central office are doing day to day, right? And sometimes that becomes a us versus they thing that can happen amongst, the local public school versus those that are trying to support those schools. So particularly in this moment in time during the pandemic, what kind of priorities and tasks are you navigating day to day during this whole situation that people should probably know about someone in the central office doing?
So it is definitely not as structured right now. In the district office, you have the structure. You got to go to lunch at a certain time because it's building hours. And then if you're out and about, you can do different things. Where I might come in and start planning some stuff and planning some professional learning, I haven't got to do a lot of that. So what I'm doing right now, I feel like, people are having problems. Hey, Dojo's down. Well, in the elementary school world, when Dojo is down and Seesaw is down, the world ends. And
so it's triage. You're doing a lot of triage right now.
I really feel like that's what at home or work from home tech support is. I kind of feel like that. We've tried to do some stuff. So, but that's been the majority of my day when I first started, is I get on and that's when people first log in. That's when the internet's slow. That's when things are breaking and connections aren't happening, work the way they're supposed to. But the one thing we've tried to do is we've tried to model what the online classroom should look like. Yeah. So we have accessibility hours. So we got 3 hours a day where me and the digital learning specialist, Benton Cunningham, we split up time. But we also have some, and that's kind of, you've got your asynchronous and your synchronous, and we also have a mandatory instructional time. So from 11:30 to 12:30, we get on, and for the first 30 minutes, we show a tool, and we might dive deep, do a deep dive into the tool, or it might just be a refresher of a tool, or we'll discuss a tool that would be helpful based on the questions that we got the day before, or even that morning. It might be as much as I got up this morning, for instance, and I'm like, okay, teachers need to know about the Google extension tool, how they can take a web page and deploy it, because they think if it's not inside the tool or it's not built in the tool that they can't do it. And I'm like, well, you don't really have to have it. That makes it easier if the vendor put it in the right spot, but just showing them stuff like that, or Google Meet Grid View. A lot of people, This guy made some extension, and now they want the Brady Bunch view because they want to see all their kids, very much like Zoom. So it's showing those instructional tools like that. And then we've also offered, again, like I said, we reached out to Wes and Kieschnick, and we did a book study with his book, Bold Schools, throughout the year, merging it with future ready concepts and stuff like that. And we were able to bring him, and he was able to speak to all our elementary schools and our middle schools and our high schools. And I think out of all our schools, I think we're going to end up, after I look at all the numbers, I think it's about 600 people listened to what he was saying. And really all he's saying is everything we say, but people always like it, when they hear it from someone else. So
yes, the outside expert. Yes,
that's right. But the idea that it's a professional learning community, that they could ask questions. We did a little Q&A. So we had them up, and me and Benton did a Q&A back and forth, or one of the learning directors with us. And so we're just trying to continue where it's not just the triage. We really want to give them some instructional know-how along the way, or best practices that they can really utilize in their classrooms.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, we're running a little short on time, but I did want to give you an opportunity to say, at least quickly, when you look in the last couple of weeks when you've had to go digital, what's been kind of like the early success story for the districts?
And it really is, when we sent out that message to say, like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go through it with all the different things teachers were doing, like videos of them working with students in the Brady Bunch. I think the biggest thing is teachers actually getting on and small grouping in a digital environment.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they were small grouping in their normal world, but I really feel like they've been able to connect to some students in a way that they weren't able to before. So to me, I think this online meeting environment has really encouraged that. So in that sense, I feel that we might be more connected. In fact, we got an email from one of our instructional specialists, and she just said, and she lives in a community that's kind of rural for us, so out in the countryside, dirt roads still, things like that. And they might or might not have internet. And she really honestly just said, this is the first time in my 20 years of teaching that I have felt connected to 100% of the households in my community.
Wow.
And that went to, we sent that up the chain, and there's been a lot of those things. So yeah. I think it's opened up some opportunity to where we said, oh, they can't do that, or they don't have that because it's a rural countryside. And she just basically completely said the opposite of what our general thought would be of a rural community. She's just like, no, we're in every household.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that speaks. I mean, there's nothing I need to add to that. That speaks.
No, I mean, it just shows what can be done.
Yep. Well, Nic, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to hang out with us a couple more minutes, Glenn, I know you got our outro today. You want to go ahead and kind of take us away?
All right. So for our outro, this is just something that one of the leaders in our district for language arts posted, Kay Reynolds, on Twitter. And this just really spoke to me today personally, because these are some reminders. I don't think I've shared on here that I run. I'm a runner. I haven't really been feeling as much like one. I mean, maybe I did 3 runs last week instead of my usual 5. And this has been really hard for me. And I beat myself up about it a lot. So this was just really good to see. This spoke to me today, but these are just some questions to kind of remind you a little bit about who you are and your identity, because as teachers, we attach so much of our identities to our job and our profession. So, who am I checking on or connecting with today? What expectations of normal am I letting go of? How am I getting outside today? How am I moving my body? How am I expressing my creativity? What type of self-care am I practicing? And what am I grateful for? Were just some really important questions that I was like, okay, and just kind of thinking about that and just being purposeful.
I like a picture. That's what I was doing. I was positioning myself so I could take a picture of the quotes, because I think that would be something. Well, we talked about it today, just so I like that. I think sometimes we sit in front of the computer all day and we're like, we don't disconnect, and so we don't take care of ourselves because we're trying to take care of everyone else.
Exactly.
On that note, let's wrap this up so we're not sitting in front of our computer any longer than we have to. But everybody, thank you for continuing to watch. Nick, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your district perspective as a director who literally is over this work that's happening in your district right now. Glenn, always a pleasure, sir. And we will see you all virtually again in our next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.